so item 10, the budget envelopes. This paper effectively has been brought forward out of necessity. As every member of the council is aware, the vast majority of members voted to increase the adult social care precept by 3% last month to make sure that our most vulnerable in the elderly community have all the support and service that they need, as well as a 1.98% council tax increase last month. Not all the recommendations were approved, and consequently this report is here for noting. Now, the council spending review was designed to create a budget that works for all palettes. Following events from last month, we are going to do a piece of work. We are going to commission, or we have commissioned, a peer review into the way we set budgets here at Thurrock. We had the council spending review, which worked to a good, healthy fashion up to a point, but the peer review is going to be designed to let them have a look at the way we operated last year as a council, not as a cabinet, but as a council with a whole CSR piece. We'll see what's seen by peers across other authorities, that be officers, councillors. We'll look forward to some of the feedback to understand what could and may be better. But at the same time, it might be that some of what we're doing is already considered best practice. So it might be that they can take some stuff from other people. So that exercise is pretty well articulated in the report, and there's probably much more for me to add to the report than that, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Snell, do you wish to speak on the report?
Thank you, Madam.
Councillor Kent, do you wish to speak on the report?
The report is what it is. We will accept the legal opinion of the monitoring officer. I don't think it's anything that we didn't know. But I think there is just a step beyond matters of fact, and that's the kind of matter of feel, the matter of approach. And the fact is that the majority of members of this council voted against the budget envelopes. They voted against the budget envelopes for different reasons. I voted against them because I did not believe there was enough money being put into adult social care. And I think it is deeply regrettable that the Cabinet is deciding to go along with the letter of the law than go along with the spirit of what this council wanted to do. And I'm afraid that if this is a route that they're going to continue to go along, it won't be long before the majority of members in this chamber decide that the only way to do things differently is to return to a committee system, something that we've discussed in the past and something that I think an appetite within this chamber is now growing for. I think that would be regrettable, but if we don't care, more inclusivity, more shared decision making, if we carry on to gag members of the public, to routinely refuse members' questions and members' motions, then that is where we're going to end up.
Thank you. Councillor Duffy.
This report has completely missed the point raised by several councillors during the debate. Nothing agreed on that evening is binding. You could produce a budget that got universal approval, but a day after the meeting you could change it all without another vote. There is zero trust or belief that you will deliver what has been agreed. I sat on an overview and scrutiny meeting where your two representatives voted in favour of closing the Thameside Theatre. Then you announced a U-turn days later. Your representatives on planning voted against including affordable housing in Tilbury, then a few days later raved about it in a council press release. The trouble you have is we're so used to Tory U-turns on local and national level that a non-binding document isn't worth the paper it is written on. Until this issue is fixed, our broken politics will never function properly.
Councillor Sir-Little.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wasn't going to speak this evening, but as circumstances have changed, and what I'd like to point out, for instance, is agency workers. When we were under Labour, within the children's services, I had 111 of them. I've now only got 52. The mop rate from the mid-50s to only 6. This is a massive, massive drop from where Labour were paying over the odds and pushing up prices. The previous portfolio holder had no idea of something and what was happening. And the Eastern region actually recognised us and complimented us on being able to do that and actually minuted it as well. The yachts, something Labour were going to cut drastically. My first decision as portfolio holder was to reverse this decision, and our yachts has been recognised not only locally but nationally, and getting outstanding results, and this becomes cost effective because you have a better outcome for youngsters and what happens to them. So I don't think they can stand over there and actually preach on how to set budgets. Thank you.
Councillor Holden.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just pick up on a couple of points Councillor Kent made. He said that one of the reasons he voted against the budget is because he didn't feel enough money was going to adult social care. Between the decision that we made to increase the levy by 3% and by the decision the Chancellor of the Exchequer made, in this financial year, 4.5 million extra will be spent on adult social care. That is the increase. The total net budget for adult social care is 33 million. So you add 4.5 million to 33 million, that is a very significant increase. However, it's a total misunderstanding of an entire council process just to boil it down to the budget. Take, for example, a piece of work that I requested on the effectiveness of the out-of-hour GP hubs that was put in place a few years ago to give the people of Thurrock a better quality of primary care. In 2015-16, over 6,000 GP appointments were made available through these hubs. Only 3,200 were used. There's a clear indication it's not just about how much money you put into a system, it's not just about how much you tax, it's not about how much cash you throw at a problem. You need to make sure that the right people are using the right services at the right time. We are investing. More money is in adult social care now, but there are strategic things, there are tactical things we need to do to make sure that the right services are getting to the right people. And just boiling it down into an argument about budgets is not the correct way to go. And as far as the committee system goes, I remember Councillor Kent vehemently arguing against the committee system when he referenced former leader Andy Smith, when he said that was a perfect way to kick things into the long grass. I mean, I've never met a constituent who said, there's an emergency, there's a problem with social care, quick, form a committee. We are investing money into social care. We are looking at the areas where the system is not working, not because of budgetary reasons, but the system is simply not working. And we are going about fixing those problems. That's what governing looks like, not tinkering around with silly structures.
Councillor Spillman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think that the reality of politics is thorough. You need to accept it. Unless something drastic happens, the makeup of the chamber is going to be just as split as it is now in 2018. They might be different, but there's a good chance it's going to be. And I think we're very lucky in this chamber. I mean, I've sat in other chambers where there are people who are just there just to break the system. And I think we've got, what we're lucky about in this chamber, to a large degree, is that most of us aren't like that. And I think you'll see from our side and from Labour that there's a lot of will to go forward together. I think really you've got to look into the committee system because you can't govern. I mean, you've got the position of leader at the moment, rightfully so. You've got the most councillors. We work to break that and cause problems. But you have only got to use 28% of the vote. You know, that's no mandate to be making the decisions that you want to make. If you're going to actually represent people, if people are going to get a voice in Thurrock over the next 4 years, we must change the committee system. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Barbara Rice.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Once again, I wasn't going to speak on this paper, but circumstances forced me to. We had a paper coming to the council in January that said we had a deficit in adult social care of 17 million. As we all know here, when I took over the portfolio in 2010, we did have a £40 million budget. So even taking into account the additional money that Councillor Howden has said we have, it's still a great big hole in our budget for adult social care. I am not going to sink down to cheap political jibes at the expense of our residents, Madam Mayor, as I'm afraid Councillor Little has done tonight. all of the cases that I know about in adult social care that I could bring to this chamber and gain cheap political points. I would not do that. I take it to the director where it should be taken to, not here, bandied about for cheap political gains. And I hope that the press has got that loudly and clearly. This is about budget, not about cheap political gains on the poor people of Thurrock that need adult social care.
Councillor Bryan.
Thank you.
There is no reply, Madam Mayor.
There is a reply because you actually mentioned my name, Councillor Wright. Actually, I wasn't talking particularly about the adult social care. I was talking about with the children and the agency workers. That is not banding about or making a cheap political drive. It is fact. We're not even into the full year, and I've actually halved them. It is fact that they were going to reduce the yachts. We've stopped it. And everyone will agree, you know, that they're doing a brilliant service and they've got a gold standard for it. There's so many other things. I'm certainly not into making cheap remarks. Regarding adult social care, we have got more money from the government, as Councillor Howden pointed out, and yes, we are going to spend it wisely. And I'm not going to make a decision as yet on how we're going to spend it. I'm going to take advice from officers. And yet, that isn't a political drive. Thank you.
Members, please, can we be quiet and respectful when others are speaking, please? Councillor Brian Little.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll repeat what most people have already said. I wasn't going to speak to them. I've just jotted down a couple of things here. I mean, this document here is suggesting a peer review, which I thought that was looking at how we manage our process now and what we can do differently to avoid the debacle that we had last month. I think that's a reasonable request. Also, if you want to make proposals for how we can work as administration, as a council, then be part of the process that we currently got. We have spending reviews. The UKIP group were there for most of the spending review and made decisions and said, we don't like that, we're not happy with this. Unfortunately, the Labour group absented themselves very early on in the process. They threw the rat away at pram sometime in the past and didn't wish to be part of it all. Well, if you don't become part of it, having a discussion about things, then unfortunately it's very difficult for you then to make statements like you've already done. We haven't got the chance of doing things. Well, you haven't if you don't join in.
Councillor Canale.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I am actually really surprised that Councillor Little would be mentioning that she's done this and that. I thought when we're talking about children's services, we are looking at actually running a safe service, not just saying we cut this, we cut that. You know, prior to now, you know there's been pressure, you know, in the finance there, and actually under my leadership, Empower was recruited to look at things. So don't just come here and claim credit for anything, and do not come here and claim credit, and just assure us in this chamber that you are going to be running a safe service. Please, don't just play with money and think that you can just cut this and cut that, because our children they benefit from this thing, and you have to be making sure that they're safe in Thurrock.
Councillor Finney.
Thank you, I've got a right to reply.
Please, members, I did ask at the beginning of the meeting that we don't talk across each other. Now, you replied right, I need to check. There is
I was mentioned by name.
Yeah, I know you were mentioned by name, Councillor, but I just want to check. You paid your right to reply earlier, and so I want to move on to the next speaker, please. Councillor Hooley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can't go back as far in history as a lot of the councillors in this chamber, but I do remember last year, it was my first year as a councillor and we were in opposition, and I sat here all year watching the administration hold up their graph of doom and spend their time thinking of political pots about money instead of focusing on the job in hand. So I'm going to show you what your graph should have looked like. For those of you who can't see, it's a leaking bucket. Taxpayers are putting their hard-earned cash in the top, and you were so busy saying it wasn't enough that you didn't see what was leaking out at the bottom. By focusing on what we've got rather than what we haven't, officers and cabinet have improved services and kept the books balanced. You weren't really focused on performance, with only 44% of targets achieving, and we're now up to 55%. And you never put cost of complaints either. Well, let me tell you that Biobus is calculating an average cost to labour alone between 80 and 120,000 is wasted by not getting the job done right first time. And that right there, Councillor Spearman, is your CAB money.
Well said.
We're focused on the job in hand. We've got more KPIs on target, which helps reduce costs and keep more money in the bucket. We're focused on customer service. Training will help save money if we can get it right the first time. Last month, you all sat here focused on your own political agendas and not really the residents, poo-pooing a balanced budget and voting it down without one of you offering a single suggestion on what to do better or an alternative budget. This administration is focused on what residents want and focused on spending their money wisely.
Councillor McPherson.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I welcome this report and I welcome the review. I certainly would not want to see us going backwards as an authority to committees. There was a place for them in the past, but there certainly isn't a place for them in the future. My biggest supporting reason of this paper is exactly as Councillor Humes just said with regards to the CAB. We have tried twice to support a fantastic organisation, and twice that organisation has had the money refused. So actually, let's get this review done so that we can see how the administration and across the chamber, if we all want to support something, let's find out how we can do it, and this review will allow us to do it. Thank you.
Councillor Snell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Crikey, I read that and thought that wasn't very contentious, that. How wrong can you be? I mean, look, there's been lots of to and fro in, and I mean, a lot of this is going over arguments that have been won and lost already, and it seems a bit pointless, to be perfectly honest. I mean, when it comes to it, when we did participate in the process of money, yes, we did. But ultimately, it comes down to a judgment call. Did we believe that that budget was going to be effective, and was it going to work for Thurrock? We took the judgment call, no, it didn't. So we agreed the amount of money coming in. Now, I think the assumption's been made by some that we've done that in the knowledge, or with no knowledge, not knowing what's going to happen next. I mean, we're fully aware that it reverts back to an executive decision, anyway, you get to do it anyway. So let's just do the peer review. Let's stop the sort of to and fro and going over arguments that have been won or have been lost already. It doesn't achieve anything now. The next time we get to do these arguments is the next election, so let's do them then and let's not do them now. That's what I've got to say. Thank you.
Councillor Bigwell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A lot of what I was going to say has already been said, but I'd just like to say that I think we're debating about whether it's going to be a committee system or a cabinet system, or I think the reason suggestions have been made, whether and that has been mentioned. This review is for an outside bodies and other people to look at how we do business and to make recommendations on whether we're doing it effectively or what changes it could be this or it should be that. We're preempting what this review hopefully is going to say, a report. And the only thing I would say, I might accept that some of the other parties were involved in the spending review and some weren't. I think, and I've been attending quite a few of the meetings over the past years, I think this last meeting was the first time that I've heard a budget rejected without some sort of alternative proposals put forward. I don't think I've ever heard a budget rejected without some alternative, and I think that's a shame.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Cockshaw.
Yeah, I'm just going to say the most sane comments I've heard tonight were from Councillor Snell. I think is an item that's going out of the work. We're moving forward. We want to actually work better. And Councillor Snell said it all, and I don't think anyone else should actually be speaking on the matter.
Thank you.
I think Councillor Cox will do as well.
Right, so that's someone else is free to speak. No, just the report is to note. So can we accept that note